It didn't work. This is going to be a pain. All right, y'all. So we've got to let these fry stay in the water for about 30-40 minutes so that their water can equalize with the lake's water. And I'm going to slowly add a little bit of water into it from the lake as it progresses. But while I'm waiting, I figured might as well fish. So this is my setup. You've just got a little floating barrel weight with a swivel, and attached to that you got leader with just some floating power bait. And guys have been catching fish already. I'm hoping to catch some today too. We'll give it a try. We'll give it a shot. Got one. So this is your rainbow trout. And you can tell this is a hatchery fish because it doesn't have an adipose fin right there. It's cut off, you can see that. So this is a hatchery fish that they released, just like we're gonna release. And we caught it on a little power bait, floating power bait. So if you want to keep it, at your age you don't need a permit or anything, but my age you do. So I always like to come in and humanely dispatch it, severing its spinal column.
Hey, do any of you guys want some worms?
Sure. Thank you.
And then at that point you'll get the bait and clean the fish and go from there. All right, so it's time to release these bad boys. They've been in the water long enough to get acclimated into the temperature of the lake. So let's get these guys released. All right, so we're gonna pan fry this fish. So to get this ready, whenever you catch a fish, there's a lot of different ways you can prepare it. You can fillet it, and that means taking the meat of the side of the fish off of the bones. With trout, the flesh is so gentle that once you cook it, and it's so soft that once you cook it, you can literally peel the skin off as well and just take the meat right off the bones so you can see the full skeleton, which is pretty fun. I don't necessarily like cooking it with the head on or the tail on, and so I always take that off, either using a knife or some pair of like shears. When you're cutting fish, I always like to cut the head off and the tail off. And with the head, the reason for that is because you have a hard gill plate right here, and then you can actually feel, if you put your finger, you can feel a bony structure right along there that kind of guides your cut. So for some reason, as you see, once you remove the head and the tail, it becomes less of a fish and more of a palatable dish. It's just how the brain works. Now we're gonna rinse this and we'll take it outside and cook it up. The next day finds us in the shade of Sherwood Middle School with a bunch of supplies and a fish to cook. So in front of you, you see some butter, a pan, a propane stove, like camp stove, as well as a survival kit. So This is something where if you have amenities, by all means, this is going to be a great way to cook your trout that you've caught, so you can enjoy it the next day or the day you catch it. What I also want to emphasize is in your survival kit, you have everything you need so that you don't need the propane stove. You don't need the pan or the butter even. So in our survival kits that you guys are going to be getting, or if you've already gotten, you have a fire striker as well as a metal striker to go along and create your spark. You have a couple of sheets of tin foil as well as a couple of packets of salt. So the salt can be used for many different things. We'll cover that when we cover the survival kit in whole. But today we're going to use it for seasoning. And as well as the tin foil has a lot of different uses in survival situations. Today we're going to be using it to cover and help cook our fish. Let's get this thing lit and start cooking. All right, so I like to have my fish up to about room temperature before I put it on. So I've let it sit out for a little bit to get to that. With the pan heating up, I'm gonna throw a little butter in it. And get my fish ready to go into that butter as it browns. Fish is pretty delicate, so it doesn't have to cook for too terribly long. But I'm gonna take some tin foil and just kind of put it on top of that fish. Let that kind of bake to some degree. Now I'm gonna leave this open face because I want that to be nice and crisp and stay crisp. The cool part about rainbow trout, and actually a lot of fish, especially with fish with smaller scales, is you can eat the skin without scaling them. You totally can scale them if you want, but you do not have to. I'm gonna take this fish off and let it rest for a little bit. Should be pretty much done. Once you're done, the skin's gonna come right off of the meat, and you can add whatever seasonings you want to. And that's where the salt packets come in, or the butter. So eat and enjoy. Oh man, woo! That is good stuff. Finger looking good. All right, y'all. So last piece I'm going to talk to you about. You can eat this skin just like it is, and it's really good. I'm going to show you one more thing in the pan that you can do so you eat as much of this fish as possible. Really, really good. This is called fish crackers. All right, let's get your stove cranking again. We're gonna see if I can do this with oily fingers now. There we go. Get your pan back on there. Get the rest of your butter if you have any left. You don't really need this. You can totally just use the skin. So you're gonna get that butter melted, and then you're gonna put the skin flesh side down into the pan. And you're gonna crisp it up. This is good stuff, y'all. I can't wait for you to get out and go fishing and catch your own. All right, we're gonna flip these over, and then we'll be done. If you've never tried this, this is, it's a pretty special little treat, especially when you catch it yourself. I can't wait for you guys to go fishing and do this yourselves. All right, once it's done, turn off the stove and enjoy.